All right, it is 6:30. We will call the September council meeting to order at this time. Welcome to all those in attendance, those watching at home, and to the council. At this time, we will have the clerk call the roll.
Bolt.
Here.
Vanderkin.
Here.
Kotarabik. Bry. Reckelberg.
Here.
Sikowitz.
Here.
Beeman.
Here.
Schley.
Here.
Cummings.
Here.
Sakala.
Here.
9 present.
Thank you, and I will note that Alderman Bry is excused. He's at the Counties Association meeting, and I think this is the first time he's missed a council meeting since I was in kindergarten. So he's kind of sad, but he is excused, so we have 9 present. All right, at this time, if everyone could please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, and if you could remain standing after the pledge for a prayer by our Council President, Steve Sakala. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Lord of goodness and grace, we pray for your special touch on all those people everywhere who are suffering from mental illness. Help them to not despair, but to trust in your mighty healing hand. Help them find good doctors and therapists who will give them proper treatment. Help them find medication that relieves their symptoms without adverse side effects, and help them remain on their counseling and medication regime. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Council President Sakala. We have, that was very appropriate since one of our proclamations is for Mental Illness Awareness Week. We're going to start with the presentations, but we'll start with the City Clerk administering oath of office and badge pinning of Officer Casey Clarkson. So, Officer Clarkson, if you'd like to come up, and your family is more than welcome to join you up here, take pictures, and any other officers in the chambers, if you want to come on up to the other side. Yeah.
I'll wait for your entourage to get situated. All right, all set?
Yep.
If you please raise your right hand, repeat after me. I, Casey Thomas Clarkson,
I, Casey Thomas Clarkson,
solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and that I'll faithfully discharge the duties
of police officer for the City of Manitowoc
of police officer for the City of Manitowoc
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations.
All right, congratulations again and welcome to the Manitowoc Police Department. We have 2 proclamations this evening. The first one is for Crime Prevention Month, and we're going to ask Crime Prevention Sergeant Paul Kroc to come up, as every other police officer just ran out of the room. But yeah, exactly. So we're going to proclaim Crime Prevention Month, and Sergeant Kroc is going to say a few words, I believe, after. Good. All right. Proclamation reads, whereas the vitality of Manitowoc, Wisconsin depends on how safe we keep our homes, neighborhoods, schools, workplaces, and community. And whereas crime and the fear of crime destroy our trust in others and in civic institutions, threatening the community's health, prosperity, and quality of life. And whereas people of all ages must be aware of what they can do to prevent themselves and their families, neighbors, and coworkers from being harmed by crime. Whereas people of all ages must be aware of the dangers of technology crime and how they can protect themselves from becoming victims. Whereas the personal injury, financial loss, and community deterioration resulting from crime are intolerable and require investment from the whole community. And whereas crime prevention initiatives must include self-protection and security, but they must go beyond these to promote collaborative efforts to make neighborhoods safer for all ages and to develop positive opportunities for young people. And whereas adults must invest time, resources, and policy support in effective prevention and intervention strategies, for youth and teens must be engaged in driving crime from the city of Manitowoc. And whereas effective crime prevention programs excel because of partnerships among law enforcement, other government agencies, civic groups, schools, faith communities, businesses, and individuals as they help nurture communal responsibility and instill pride. Now therefore, I, Justin Nichols, Mayor of the City of Manitowoc, do hereby proclaim October 2022 as Crime Prevention Month in the City of Manitowoc and urge all citizens, government agencies, public and private institutions, and businesses to invest in the power of prevention and work together to make Manitowoc a safer, stronger, more caring community. Sergeant Crock, if you'd like to say a few words.
Sure. Thank you, Mayor Nichols.
We got a speech.
Oh, yeah, six pages, double-sided.
Not the mic.
So during Crime Prevention Month, we take steps to prevent ourselves, our loved ones, and our fellow community members from becoming victims of crime. But in order to do this, we must come together as a community and be willing to look out for one another, not just during Crime Prevention Month, but throughout the calendar year. The Manitowoc Police Department works collaboratively with the community to accomplish this goal, not only during Crime Prevention Month, but throughout the calendar year. We do this through programs such as DARE, Neighborhood Watch, Triad, various educational presentations, Citizens Academy, Police Department tours, and National Night Out, just to name a few. During Crime Prevention Month, the Manitowoc Police Department will participate in several events that will continue to strengthen our community partnerships. We'll be serving meals and cooking those meals, and along with a squad car demonstration at a local faith-based organization. Additionally, we'll have a squad car presentation at a local daycare, 2 presentations to local community groups on how to prevent and report bullying, as well as participating in several of our community's trunk or treat events. In closing, I hope that you and your family is able to find a way to participate in some of our crime prevention programs that we offer, not only during Crime Prevention Month, but throughout the calendar year. Thanks.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Sergeant Crock. Now you can go out with the rest of your buddies. All right, the next one is for Mental Illness Awareness Week, as Council President did in his wonderful prayer to proclaim the week of October, 2nd through the 8th, as Mental Illness Awareness Week. I'm going to ask Sue Shaw, Vice President of NAMI, which is National Alliance on Mental Illness, to accept it and also say a few words, I hope. Yes. All right, perfect. It reads, whereas in 1990, the U.S. Congress established the first full week of October as Mental Illness Awareness Week in recognition of National Alliance on Mental Illness, or NAMI, efforts to raise mental illness awareness. And whereas since 1990, mental health advocates across the country have joined together the first week of October to sponsor various activities to raise awareness through outreach, education, and advocacy. And whereas Mental Illness Awareness Week is a time to raise public awareness of serious mental illnesses such as major depression, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, post-traumatic disorder, obsessive-compulsive disorder, and borderline personality disorder. And whereas approximately 60 million Americans experience mental health problems in any given year, 1 in 17 lives with the most serious conditions, and less than 1/3 seek treatment. And whereas half of all lifetime cases begin by the age of 14, however, 10 or more years may pass between the onset of symptoms and being diagnosed. And whereas early diagnosis is often the key to recovery, with treatment that may include combinations of medication, cognitive behavioral therapy, interpersonal therapy, peer support groups or community services, diet, sleep, exercise, and social support networks. And whereas education is essential in combating mental illness. Now therefore, I, Justin Nichols, Mayor of the City of Manitowoc, in recognition of this event, do hereby proclaim the week of October 2nd through the 8th, 2022, as Mental Illness Awareness Week in the City of Manitowoc, and encourage the community to observe this week with appropriate programs, ceremonies, and activities. Sue, if you'd like to say a few words.
Thank you. As Mayor Nichols mentioned, NAMI otherwise known as National Alliance on Mental Illness, is the largest grassroots mental health organization in the country, and they are very proud of all of the work that they do. NAMI is involved in many activities in Manitowoc, but tonight I'd like to share a couple of very important statistics with you. 1 in 5 adults in the United States experiences mental illness each year, and 1 in 6 youth between the ages of 6 and 17 in the United States experience a mental health disorder each year. These are very staggering statistics, and unfortunately, there are not enough mental health services and providers, not even in just the country, but especially in our own community, and we all need to be aware of that. NAMI provides a stopgap for education, advocacy, and support for individuals with mental illness and their family members. And we are very proud to be able to provide those services. So on behalf of NAMI of Manitowoc County, I would like to thank Mayor Nichols and members of the council for your support of our nonprofit organization, and we look forward to helping individuals in our own community and throughout the county in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sue. Very well stated. All right, that concludes our presentations. We have 3 public hearings today. The first one is for the purpose of hearing any and all interested parties in the matter of a proposed conditional use permit for the establishment of a transitional housing warming shelter located at 502 North 8th Street. We will have the clerk read the proof of publication.
Notice of this public hearing was published in the Herald Times Reporter on September 4th and September 12th.
Thank you. Adam.
All right, so the request before you, as was stated, was for transitional housing warming shelter. The property is currently zone B1 office residential. The existing use is for a church and a school. The applicant originally brought this forward last year, and due to timing, it was delayed until this year so that they could work with city staff to try and figure out some of the logistical details. So staff, the police department, the fire department, as well as others have worked with them to come up with the recommended conditions and the action plan that is part of the packet. Ultimately, this went before the Planning Commission for a public informational hearing. At that time, no one spoke in opposition of it, and the Plan Commission recommended unanimous approval subject to the 7 conditions that are part of the package.
Thank you, Adam. Are there any questions from the council for Adam at this time? All right, seeing none then, this is a public hearing for this specific subject matter. If there's anyone interested in speaking, just raise your hand. You may do so. Come up to the podium. Anyone interested in speaking? Come on down. If you could just please state your name for the record.
Matt Sauer, member of this community and pastor at First Presbyterian Church and Peace United Church of Christ. Good evening. Thank you for taking up this opportunity to make a better difference in our community. Just want to tell you a little bit about some stories. So I first visited the city of Manitowoc in April of 2005. It was the Sunday after Easter. My wife and I and our then 5-year-old daughter kind of fell in love with the city, and we eventually accepted the call to be pastor to the community through First Presbyterian Church. We moved here in July of 2005. Our kids have grown up here. This is our hometown. I'm telling you this because I want you to know that I'm personally committed to helping our city be its best. First Presbyterian Church has been committed to being a great neighbor with Manitowoc since 1851. Over the past 171 years, First Presbyterian has helped give birth to and journeyed beside so many organizations that we all now consider to be necessary fabric as a city. And tonight, I want to assure you that we want to take another step together as a community to do what we say in our own city mission statement, to provide and improve public safety, infrastructure, and services across our community to ensure that it is a great place to be. In order to be a great place to live, we need to make sure that care for all our citizens is a priority. Currently, Manitowoc has citizens that are without a home. The reason that they're without a home varies. For many, it's simple economics. For others, it's failed relationships. For some, it's about choices. For every person, though, living in homelessness, there is a unique story, just like all of us have our unique stories. But those of us who engage our community, who are used to standing up in front of people and talking, we get to tell our stories easily. But more importantly, people will listen when we tell our stories. People living in homelessness seldom get to share their story, and even less does someone take the time to listen. And not hearing a story means that they're never a part of our story. And when they're not a part of our story, they are not a part of the city. And that means we're less great place to be. Tonight, you have the opportunity to hear their voices, listen to their stories. Tonight, you have the opportunity to provide a place of humanity and compassion in the midst of a cold and harsh world and winter. Tonight, you can continue to make Manitowoc a great place to be by making it a better place for those who live in homelessness. The Manitowoc Warming Shelter has a vision that our city will be a place where those living in homelessness are treated with dignity and respect. The Manitowoc Warming Shelter seeks to provide a safe, warm, non-judgmental facility for any adult that finds themselves without a safe, overnight shelter during the winter months. We are partnering with our community to respond to the needs that our guests may bring, whether that be classes at LTC or services at Painting Pathways or Lighthouse Recovery Community Center and Courage, or simply a bed at night. We've reached out to our neighbors, to law enforcement, to the fire department, to social services to assure that we have a safe and secure environment for guests and our neighborhood. We've partnered with Hope House and with the Haven to make sure that we're meeting the needs of those who have fallen through the gaps that still exist, even with those great agencies in our community. So I urge you tonight to let's keep moving Manitowoc forward so that we can truly be a great place, not just for those of us who have the privilege of coming to these meetings, but for all people and all citizens. So I'll approve the conditional use permit, because when we listen to those voices, as one of my heroes, Mr. Rogers, would say, listening is where love begins. When we listen to ourselves and we listen to our neighbors. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else interested in speaking on this subject matter? Yes. Please just state your name for the record.
Hi. My name is Dawn Kaysen, and I'm actually here to read a letter that Michael Etheridge, the Executive Director of the Haven, has written. He is unable to attend tonight. Dear Common Council members, my name is Michael Etheridge. I am the Executive Director of the Haven of Manitowoc County and Steering Committee member for the Warming Shelter of Manitowoc County. The Haven is a men's homeless shelter program that has helped over 425 men in the past 8 years. I remember hearing all the stories on how difficult it was to get the Haven up and running. Everything from trying to find a location to some community members going against having a men's shelter in the community. Despite those challenges, the Common Council knew that the community would benefit from having an emergency shelter for men to temporarily reside while they received the help they needed to get back on their feet. The warming shelter of Manitowoc County is facing, or will face, that same adversity. Like the Haven, the warming shelter will fill a huge gap in services that is missing. The homeless that find themselves bereft of hope may not necessarily fit most of the programs due to their backgrounds and other challenges. The warming shelter would provide a temporary place to stay while a community bands together to help those individuals secure the next step in their lives. Immediate entrance into a shelter out of the outside elements would satisfy a need that other programs do not provide. Immediate entry. This could be a situation where an individual could stay at a warming shelter until their name is called from waiting lists from other shelter programs. Just about every program that provides shelter is full and is running on a waiting list. Where are those people sleeping at night while they wait? Who knows? I am not saying that the warming shelter is the cure to alleviating shelter waiting lists. However, I am saying that it would be another service, not duplicated in our community, that will save lives. I hope you consider making the warming shelter of Manitowoc County a part of our community in the never-ending battle against homelessness. Please contact me if you have any questions. Kind regards, Mike. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else interested in speaking on this subject matter? Anyone else interested in speaking? Oh, yep. Please, just state your name for the record, please.
My name is Donna Furman. I'm a mental health and suicide prevention advocate. I'm the president of NAMI, the board president of NAMI, and the board president of Prevent Suicide Manitowoc County. I'm also on the team at the League of Women Voters advocating for a mental health court. Today, I'm advocating for those who have mental health conditions, not a character flaw, and who also experience homelessness, also not a character flaw. SAMHSA, the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration of the federal government, states that emergency, transitional, and supportive housing and homeless shelters can help stabilize people with mental health issues and substance use disorders who are experiencing homelessness. Poverty, unemployment, and lack of affordable housing are commonly recognized causes of homelessness. These risk factors can be exacerbated by personal vulnerabilities such as mental illness, mental health disorders and substance use disorders, trauma and violence and domestic violence, and justice system involvement, sudden serious illness, divorce, death of a partner, and disabilities. One recent study of SAMHSA showed that 15% of people with mental health disorders were homeless at some time within the last year, 15%. And I know from advocating for mental health, people with mental health disorders, so goes the country, so goes Manitowoc County. I think we can expect that here. Emergency warming shelters are often where people experiencing economic shock first turn to for support through a wide range of services. They offer a path to community resources not found while a person is sleeping in their car, hungry, cold, and lonely. They offer food for the hungry and warmth for the cold. They offer safety and fewer police contacts, good for everyone, including our police officers. More than anything, they offer hope for recovery, housing, and stability. They offer hope to the most vulnerable among us. And quite frankly, if we cannot offer hope for our community members, all of our community members, there is no hope for us as a community of people. So I urge you to approve the conditional use permit. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else interested in speaking on this subject? Going once, twice. We will close this public hearing and we will take this matter up for vote.
Document 716 is a Manitowoc Cooperative Ministry First Presbyterian Church conditional use permit for establishment of a transitional housing warming shelter at 502 North 8th Street. The Plan Commission returned same, recommending approval.
Council, your pleasure on this report.
Move to approve the report, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Alderman Cummings.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This obviously is in my district. From the moment that I heard about it, I was fully supportive of it. I do also believe in helping all members of our community, especially those that do fall upon hard times. I think having something to go and have them turn to, a safe place to hopefully lead them on their road to recovery, can only help us be stronger as a community. So I do urge the rest of the council to support this as well.
Thank you. Alderwoman Katarabek.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would echo everything that Alder Cummings said. As someone who works in the child welfare and court system, I see parents who are transient. There are children who are hiding that their families are living in cars because of the shame and everything that comes along with that. And with everything that we heard from the public hearings, I would urge everyone on the council to agree with this, as well as especially after we just had 2 proclamations for crime prevention and mental illness. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Schley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. 30 years ago, I had a best friend here in Manitowoc. His name was Paul Schneider. Most folks didn't know him as Paul Schneider. Most folks called him Humphrey. He was 450 pounds of absolute happiness. He was a bartender for almost his whole life and was known by many people in the community as he worked at a number of popular establishments, even had his own in the town of Liberty. Due to a set of circumstances, I ended up moving away from Manitowoc and not coming back for a long, long time. And while I was gone, I tried contacting my friend a number of times, and suddenly he was gone and no one knew where he was. 3 years ago, I was in Green Bay visiting friends, and one of my friends worked for the United Way and worked for their shelter in Green Bay. And they had a list of names. He took me on a tour of the shelter, and I looked down the list of names, and I was horrified to find that my friend had died on the street in Green Bay. He always had struggled with some mental illness, and he was just overcome. His marriage fell apart. He left town in shame and died on the streets because there was no one to help him. And I support this wholeheartedly, obviously, and I hope you do too. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Schley. Any other discussion? Seeing none, then all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Thank you. Best wishes. We will take up the next public hearing for the purpose of hearing any and all interested parties in the matter of a proposed change in zone from R1 residential agricultural to I1 light industrial for property located at 4009 Vebon Street. We will have the clerk read the proof of publication.
Notice of this public hearing was published in the Herald Times Reporter on September 4th and September 12th.
Thank you. Adam.
All right, as noted, this is a rezoning request from a residential to an industrial district. The property is just over 4 acres in size. Based on staff research, it appears that when originally this area was being designated for some antenna towers, a portion of the property was left as residential to serve, I'm guessing, as a buffer between the towers and surrounding properties. At this time, the property owner is requesting to rezone the property to I1 to match the rest of the surrounding properties. Staff feels it is consistent with the future land use plan and that it is an appropriate use for that area. The applicant has noted that if it was rezoned, they are intending to build a warehouse on the property. During our public input sessions, we did get one call from a neighbor who had some concerns just with the future, and it would impact any future utility costs, sidewalks, or force any annexations. In our opinion, it would not force an annexation because we can't force most people to annex. And if they are building on their own, it would not impact utility costs or sidewalks. They did also note they were not happy with just changes in general in the area with the addition of the large facility going to the north. But in general, other than that, we received no other opposition. It did go through the public informational hearing at the Planning Commission, and once again, they unanimously supported the request.
Thank you, Adam. Any questions from the council at this time for Adam? Seeing none, then, this is a public hearing for this specific subject matter. If there's anyone interested in speaking, you may do so on this specific subject matter. Anyone interested in speaking? Going once, twice. We'll close this public hearing and we'll bring it to the council.
Document 717, Seahafer Broadcasting Corporation request to rezone property from R1 Residential Agricultural to I1 Light Industrial located at 4009 Vivon Street. Plan Commission returns same, recommending approval.
What's your pleasure on this report?
Recommend approval, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. We have one final public hearing, and that is for the purpose of hearing any and all interested parties in the matter of a proposed change to Chapter 15 related to setback from major streets. We'll have the clerk read the proof of publication.
Notice of this public hearing was published in the Herald Times Reporter on September 4th and September 12th.
Thank you. Adam?
All right, so for those of you who haven't read our entire zoning ordinance from cover to cover, you may not be aware that in certain districts, there is no required street setback unless specifically called for within the code. In a recent review, we noted that in our original industrial park, there was covenants and restrictions that had a 25-foot setback. Those have actually expired, so as of now, there is no setback for those industrial buildings. Staff felt to honor the original intent of the covenants and the character that was created in that park, that it would be appropriate to add those setbacks into the zoning code. And while we were reviewing the street list, we also noticed that with the new Bayshore development that is occurring up off of Memorial Drive, the new Bayshore Drive was not included, whereas the previous road that ran almost in a similar location did require that setback. So we are also recommending the addition of Bayshore Drive to have a 25-foot setback. This, once again, went through Planning Commission, and after the public information hearing, they had unanimous support for the request.
Thank you. Is there any questions from the council for Adam at this time? Seeing none, then this is a public hearing for this specific subject matter. If there's anyone interested in speaking on this specific subject matter, you may do so at this time. Anyone interested in speaking? Once, twice. We'll close that public hearing and we'll bring it for a vote.
We have document 719, an amendment to zoning code chapter 15.39014, setbacks from major streets. Plan Commission returns same, recommending adopting the amended code.
What's your pleasure on this report?
Move to adopt code, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. That concludes our public hearings. We'll move into public input. If there's anyone from the public interested in speaking on anything germane to the business of the city of Manitowoc, you may do so at this time. Anyone for anything for public input? Oh, yes, sir. If you could just state your name, please, for the record.
Michael Mealy. About 2 hours ago, I received pandemic response protocols by email. So I haven't had a lengthy time to overview these, but within the language regarding healthcare, city requirements, actions, inactions, you're pushing on violating federal law. 21 U.S. 360 Baker is about informed consent for non-emergency medical products. And in, I believe, 2017, the Americans with Disabilities Act was re-ratified by the U.S. Senate and House, that one may not discriminate against an individual in a public entity or public accommodation for a perceived or actual medical condition, including viruses. To violate these protocols then transfers this into deprivation of rights under color of law and conspiracy of deprivation of rights under color of law. This is 18 U.S., I believe 141 and 142. And so page 1 was pretty clear, ambiguous, nothing really stood out to me. But on page 2, item 2, any employees who appear to have any illness symptoms may be sent home. This could fall under that deprivation. if you do not have a qualified medical doctor and the testing protocol to prove an objective condition, you could be violating these federal statutes. Required to use any paid leave available. Now you're impacting the person's finances. Deprivation of rights under color of law. You're also potentially impersonating a medical officer or impersonating a police officer. And under Wisconsin statutes, those are Class I felonies. So within the language here, specifically on page 2, you're getting into potentially a substantive financial liability. And I would encourage the city attorney to look into these statutes and how the wording of these emergency protocols play out against those statutes. Because then we're all on the hook for it. And that you as sworn officers of the council, first swore an oath to the U.S. Constitution and then to the state constitution, you could be held in breach of contract and your oaths and bonds challenged under these statutes as well. So, due diligence. My suggestion is to have the city attorney review under the statutes that I've opened up. Thanks.
Thank you. Is that your water?
Yes.
Yep, there you go. All right. Anyone else for public input on anything germane to the business of the city of Manitowoc? Once, twice. We'll close public input. We'll move to, we have no appointments this evening, so we'll move to the consent agenda. Is there anything to be removed from the consent agenda? Yes, Alderman Bolt.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to have item number 22-0756 removed, please.
Okay. We can do that. Anything else to be removed? Seeing none then, I would look for a motion to approve the consent agenda as revised.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. 0756. Okay. We'll move to, for those following along at home, page number 5, item I, committee reports. And we'll start with Committee of the Whole and Council President Steve Sakala.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The clerk has their documents.
Document 799 is a resolution in recognition of Kurt Wisniewski and Gail Sumi of the League of Wisconsin Municipalities. Committee returns same, recommending adopting the resolution.
Council, your pleasure on this resolution.
Move to adopt the resolution, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Motion second, discussion. Just want to thank you for doing this as the president of the league this year. These are two longtime employees of the league. Actually, Gail Sumi used to work for Assemblyman Vern Holschbach from the Manitowoc area way back in the day. So Gail has a lot of connections to Manitowoc. She actually worked on the legislation to get the car ferry back to Manitowoc in the day. So appreciate their service to the league and appreciate you supporting this resolution. I'll make sure to share it at the annual conference. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Thank you.
Document 808 is a report of Special Events Committee recommending approval for various upcoming events. Committee returns same, recommending approval.
Council, your pleasure on this report.
Move to approve, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Anything else, Council President Sakala?
No, Mr. Mayor, that exhausts our agenda.
Thank you. And Alderman Vanderkin, I'll just assume you're voting yes on everything unless I hear you scream at us, all right?
That'd be correct, yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, we'll move to the Finance Committee and the Vice Chair, Alderman Eric Sitkowitz, will take over.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Alder Bry asked me if I could run the Finance Committee and then left me no documents.
Yeah.
So I want to thank Alderman Bolt for pulling something off consent that's in finance. So the clerk has it.
All right.
Document 756 is a request for an amendment to Manitowoc Tool and Manufacturing LLC Development Agreement. Committee returns same, recommending to approve the amendment to the agreement and to include a possible amendment for the pond.
Council, your pleasure on this report.
Move for the adoption of the committee's report, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Motion and a second by Alderman Reckelberg. Discussion. Assuming you would like to abstain, Alderman Bolt?
Yes, sir, that's exactly what it means.
That's what I figured. That's smart. Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, then all is in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And
Abstain.
abstention. So the motion carries 8-0-1 with Alderman Bolt abstaining. Anything else, Alderman Sitkowitz?
No, that completes the Finance Committee's business.
Good. We'll just take you right next and do the Personnel Committee.
All right, clerk has the documents.
All right, document 743 is a USI presentation of the healthcare plan for 2023. Committee return same, recommending to refer back to personnel.
Council, your pleasure on this report.
Committee moves to accept the committee's report, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion.
Just for clarification, this was a presentation that we received at Personnel that laid out potential recommendations, and I use the word potential recommendations for 2023. We wanted the entire council to get it, so that's why it was attached this evening. I believe we're going to be holding a special council meeting, or committee of the whole meeting on October 3rd. Is that accurate?
It'll be an actual council meeting because we'd like to officially, on October 3rd after Personnel.
Okay, and we're going to hopefully at that time have a updated thing. We're still waiting for a couple of things to come into play. So, but we want to kind of show you a couple options out there and different things. So there'll be more information forthcoming.
Yeah, thank you, Alderman Sitkowitz, and I appreciate that and holding it because this is a large item to tackle. So we wanted to make sure council saw the presentation first and foremost. So plan on October 3rd, Monday, October 3rd. We haven't set an official time yet. It'll be after Personnel. So kind of look and see how long the Personnel Committee might take that evening. For finalized recommendation that evening. So, thank you. Anything else, Alderman Sitkowitz? Otherwise, we'll take up the other items.
Not on this item.
Oh, yeah, not on this item, yeah. All right, all those in favor then?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously.
Document 802 is a resolution to approve revised protocols policy in the employee policy manual. Committee returns same, recommending to adopt the resolution.
Council, your pleasure on this resolution.
I move for the adoption of the committee's report, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Alderman Sitkowitz.
Yeah, just to speak to some of the updates, and if we need HR Jesse to come up to explain any of them, she'd be more than happy to. But really, it just goes off of using two things: some CDC guidance and some common sense, and kind of dialing back where we are in the pandemic or the stages of it. So, hopefully, we're turning that corner. So, that's what this policy is designed to do.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, then all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously.
Document 803 is a resolution to approve payouts to wastewater treatment facility employees of their old sick leave banks. Committee returns same, recommending to adopt the resolution.
Council, your pleasure on this resolution.
Move for the adoption of the committee's report, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Just so everyone is aware, this is out of wastewater funds. It's not out of our general fund. And it was always planned and budgeted as a liability and expense anyway. So it's just cleaning everything up for the transition to Manitowoc Public Utilities. Alderman
That's what
Sitkowitz.
I was just going to say, that the reason why this is happening is as wastewater transfers over to under the control of MPU.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, then all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimously.
Document 804 is an ordinance to set the mayoral salary at grade Q market rate of the employee policy manual for the 2025-2028 four-year term. Committee returns same, recommending to adopt the ordinance.
Council, your pleasure on this ordinance.
I move for the adoption of the committee's report, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Alderman Sitkowitz.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just as we did last month through personnel, we took a look at the aldermanic compensation and wanted to get far enough ahead of any election on that piece. Same thing with the office of the mayor. We wanted to get far enough ahead of any election that's forthcoming, years actually. So we wanted to take the opportunity to look at it now and get it incorporated into our pay plan.
Thank you. Any further discussion? This does require a 3/4 vote of all members present, so there are 9, which means it requires 7 yes votes in order to pass. So any further discussion? Seeing none, then all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Anything else, Alderman Sitkowitz?
No further documents, just 2 notes of importance. Obviously, our next meeting is October 3rd, which will be followed by a common council meeting. But then in November, we're actually moving our meeting from that Monday evening to Thursday, November 10th. That'll give the clerks an opportunity to get the chamber set up for central count.
Thank you.
So kind. Yeah, we're also doing the same thing with room tax commission that evening too.
Okay,
so.
perfect.
Yeah, I think we'll just move room tax right after, or before personnel like we typically do. So, all right, thank you, Alderman Sitkowitz. We'll move to the Public Infrastructure Committee, and Alderman Mike Cummings is chair.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The clerk has their documents.
All right, document 765 is a Hecker Road and Vebon Street Utility, Stormwater, and Street Design Proposal. Committee returns same, recommending to approve the proposal.
What's your pleasure on this report?
To approve the report, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Motion and a, it's all Jim Brad too. Motion and a second discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Anything else, Alderman Cummings?
Nope, that is it. Our next meeting is October 5th at 5:30 in the council chambers.
Perfect, thank you. We'll move to the Public Safety Committee, and Alderman Bill Schley is chair.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The clerk has a document.
We have document 774, which is an ordinance to amend section 10.750 of the municipal code regulating heavy traffic routes. Committee returns same, recommending to adopt the ordinance.
What's your pleasure on this ordinance?
Move to accept or to approve the ordinance, rather.
Second.
Motion and a second discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Anything else, Alderman Schley?
We have no further business other than to say that our next meeting will be on Monday, the 10th of October at 5:30 PM right here in this here room.
Thank you very much. And we will take the remaining two Plan Commission documents.
Document 721 is JAI Petroleum and Investments LLC quitclaim deed for North Rapids Road. Plan Commission returns same, recommending to accept the quitclaim deed.
Council, your pleasure on this report.
Move to accept the quitclaim deed, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Motion and a second discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously.
And document 722 is JAI Petroleum and Investments LLC quitclaim deed for Plank Road. Plan Commission returns same, recommending to accept the quitclaim deeds.
Council, your pleasure on this report.
Move to accept the quitclaim deed, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Motion and a second discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. That exhausts our business. Is there any other business to come before the council? Alderman Sitkowitz.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just one question for Alder Schley as Chair of Public Safety, because I didn't see it on the agenda this evening. At committee, there was a discussion around electric scooters and a presentation to the city. It was unclear if that item got tabled and not coming forward, or if there was a lot of questions from the committee that they were going to come back and get those answered. It was unclear when I watched the meeting.
That document was placed on file as a committee. We voted unanimously not to approve, but if there is a call for it, that can be brought to the council for discussion.
Okay.
There you go. Anything else for the good of the order? If not, I look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
We are adjourned.
Dan.